talking about Jude's Corner, where we're talking about toxic relatives and manipulation. We'll have a follow-up of that conversation tomorrow. It's going to be a major one by 11 o'clock. The entire 11 o'clock hour will be dedicated to that. But for now, we shift our focus to arrests in this country, and the arrest a lot of young people, particularly in the past decade, have become accustomed to. The unlawful kind, wrongful arrest. Now, recently, I got to see a video of a young man who was incarcerated for about 4 months for doing absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing. You know how the phrase goes, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, to help me with this conversation, I have the founder of HeadFort Foundation, in the person of Mrs. Oluyemi Orija. Mrs. Oluyemi, good morning to you, please.
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning.
Oh, all right. Mrs. Oluyemi, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you. I want to be very sure that you can hear us clearly.
Absolutely, good.
Okay, all right. So we're going to go on a quick break. Just stand by, and we'll get to you to talk about your foundation and how you started.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk radio.
That you couldn't hear my guest. I'd like to confirm, Mrs. Oluyemi, can you hear me now?
Absolutely, I can.
Okay, fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning. Now, my guest once again is Mrs. Oluyemi Orija. She is the founder of HeadFort Foundation. HeadFort Foundation. And if I'm not mistaken, right, your foundation has a huge role. It's a non-governmental organization that is interested in making sure people who need legal assistance get legal assistance. Is this correct?
That is very correct. That's
okay. All right. So now let's delve straight into, for the want of time, let's delve straight into our big conversation this morning. Now, I got to see, that story of a young man who was incarcerated for 4 months for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And all of this happened because the police bundled him. He was charged. He didn't know what his crimes were. He tried to defend himself. No investigations apparently were made to ascertain that he did or didn't do this thing. And then he was presented before a court. And then your organization came through and then facilitated his release. Why are these things happening? Why do some Nigerians get to experience wrongful arrest? Please.
Okay, so unfortunately, Nigeria is Nigeria. The police by law has the right to arrest somebody upon suspicion of crime. If they suspect that this person has committed any crime, they have the right to arrest. They have the right to carry on investigation. And when they realize that this person hasn't done anything wrong, the ideal thing to do is to release this person. But unfortunately, what we now have is where every Nigeria is like a new ticket to the police officers. So when you are arrested, even though nothing has been found on you, no report against you, investigation carried out or, supposedly carried out, and there is no crime at all, then they ask you to pay some money. If you're unable to pay that money, you find yourself where you're not supposed to find yourself. And that was the case of Abayomi, the young man you're referring to. So early this year, the young man was going to buy food for himself on the street here in Lagos. And, he was arrested. He didn't know what was going on until he spent a month at the police custody. After 1 month, he had no family coming around to make
He spent a month.
He had no money to pay.
He spent a month in jail.
Absolutely, yeah. At the police station, against the law. I mean, the law is that you shouldn't spend more than 48 hours at the police station, and if you're not released, you should be charged to a court. If you need to be detained for longer period, the court order should be obtained for that purpose. But in Abayomi's case, there was none of that. He was there for 1 month. After 1 month, he was charged for armed robbery, a crime of armed robbery, which is an offense or a crime that is not even bailable by law. So this guy was there in prison because he had to be remanded while awaiting trial, So he was there for about 4 months. We met him in the course of this. We got his story, and it was fascinating, and it's something that he needed help, obviously. He couldn't afford to contract the service of any lawyer. There was no lawyer working on his case. So we took it up and followed through with the Director of Public Prosecution, and where we were able to get out the DPP advice saying that this guy has no case to answer. And upon that DPP advice, the court was able to release him after 4 months in prison and 1 month at the police custody. So all of this is the reality of many young Nigerians across board. And it is happening because there is no consequences for action. The police officers, there's no reform. Our policing is terrible. And we've been clamoring for police reform all year, year in, year out. But it's like there's no political will to get these things done. And for us to get any results, it has to come from the very top. Police officers must be trained and retrained. When nothing is done, we will continue to experience this. And when you even sue the police, for all of these actions, and you get judgment against them, enforcing the judgment becomes another terrible thing to go through. So because of the difficulty in enforcing the judgment against police officers, people are not even interested in suing the police. And it's not until we get consequences against police officers that any of this can stop. It is across board, not just in Lagos.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is across board, and it's interesting that your foundation, has taken up this very what we would call laudable task. But let's stick with this narrative now as to the culpability of these officers. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm very sure some people are listening have had similar experience, and maybe they even have police officers as friends, family members, or fathers and mothers. But what exactly would motivate an officer of the law, an officer of the Constitution of Nigeria, to wrongfully arrest someone, knowing fully well that they have no case to answer? Well, what exactly is the driving force?
Corruption, money. And of course, the Bible says that the heart of man is desperately wicked, or something like that. Corruption is eating deep into the system and the institutions of this country. And everybody is looking for money. Unfortunately, the police is not so well funded. The police officers aren't doing well financially and or economically, I'd say. So if you go to an ideal police station close to you, you see the welfare of this police officer. You see the environment in which they also operate. I mean, I've been to a police station lots of times, and ordinary fan in some cases they don't even have. the sheet where you write your statement is being they have to photocopy it with their money. It's not like the government is providing, or maybe the government is providing and is not getting to the bottom. Because this money they are marked from the federal, gets to the police, to the state, and back to the very local police division.
Yes.
Within around us, right? So maybe the money is not channeling down to where it should get to. Because at the end of the day, it does not make sense for any police officer to be sewing uniforms for themselves and making photocopies of stationery by them with their own money. These are things that the government should provide for. So I can categorically tell you that the police is also faring well. And while that is not a justification for any of the evil that they now perpetrate, because at the end of the day, Nigeria is happening to everybody. The economy is affecting everybody. So if I would do well in my own right, it's expected that every police officer would also do right, in their own various fields and in the course of the operation of their duties. So it is not a justification, but it's a reality we cannot shy away from. So I believe that corruption is a major issue here. The police officer sees you the moment. And the funny thing is, even when you walk with your own leg and walk into the police station, they are being arrested most of the time. They'll collect money from you, a complainant who has come to complain about a particular situation. They collect money for mobilization from you. Then the person you reported, they also arrest that guy, collect their money.
Whoa.
So at the end of the day, both the complainant and the suspect are meal tickets. So it is corruption, and I don't know. It needs an all-round reform, starting from recruitment to training to how they rise the ladder. It's just a whole deep kind of like an overall. That's what I would recommend, because it's deep. It's very deep. They tell you sometimes that they punish these guys, but once the essence of somebody, a police officer committing a crime, or doing something wrong in Lagos, then you say you are disciplining this guy, then you transfer him to Port Harcourt. Who says he's not going to repeat the same thing in Port Harcourt? We're not saying transfer them to another location. We're saying
punish
it's
them.
either you remove the bad eggs, and until you do, it can't be clean. They go to the next place of assignment and do even worse, because they know that the worst that will happen is you transfer me to another place again. So it's what is needed is a total overhaul and reform of the police institution in Nigeria.
Okay, all right, Mrs. Oluyemi, we're going to go to break in about a minute and 30 seconds. And if you're just joining us this morning, our conversation is all about unlawful or wrongful arrest here in Nigeria. And my guest this morning, Mrs. Oluyemi Orija, is the founder of HeadFort Foundations, an NGO made up of, if I'm not mistaken, made up of legal practitioners, lawyers, yes?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right. And they go around trying to offer legal advice to people who are most vulnerable, who really can't afford to. When we come back, Mrs. Oluyemi, we're going to be talking about the challenges you have experienced in the course of trying to proffer legal advice to the most vulnerable here in Nigeria. And of particular interest, I'm sure somebody's listening right now, is what exactly do we do? Because it used to be a time when people would hear, I'll call my lawyer, and the police officers, tend to adjust themselves. Is that the same now? When we come back, Mrs. Oluyemi will tell us her stories. Don't go anywhere. 92.3 Nigeria Info. get to our final conversations this morning. We're joined this morning by the founder of the HeadFort Foundation in Lagos. They are particularly involved in legal representation, particularly of those who cannot afford them. So they do it pro bono. That means free. All right. So let's get the legal jargons clear. Mr. Oluyemi, am I correct when you say pro bono is free?
That's very correct.
Okay, all right, and that's what the HeadFort Foundation does. Helps to get legal representation for people who can't afford to have legal representation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now we're talking about wrongful arrest. Now, we would like you, and I'm very sure a lot of listeners, I have a few messages that I'll direct to you shortly. We'd like to find out from you, what have been some of the challenges that you and your organization have faced in the course of carrying out this particular task?
Okay, so, corruption is one of the challenges because, unfortunately, in Nigeria, when you are doing a job or a work such as ours, where you're helping people without collecting money from them, it is perceived that you're also rich, right? So imagine that we are handling a case for free and we get to the court, and the court officials, expect that you tip them on every little task that they are paid to do.
I'm sorry, court officials?
Yes.
You're talking about people who work with the judiciary in the courts, clerks and things like that?
Absolutely. So you would imagine that we are in a court and our matter or our file is supposed to move from one table to the next, and then you're being asked for money. Or you want to get, say, a certified copy of a document that you would need to defend this person, and you have to pay for all of these things. For some of it, yes, you are meant to pay, but when they now start, because it's not like a fixed amount of money, but when you want to collect a sheet of paper, just one sheet, and somebody is asking you to go and bring as high as 10,000 naira from an organization that is rendering service pro bono, and as we are speaking right now, we have pending across court more than 100 cases that we are attending to. So imagine we have to pay those. Some people might say it's a small money, but imagine you have to pay like that for about 400 cases. How much is it going to cost you? So yeah, the corruption is eminent in our system. People tell you are rich, that's why you are doing this work, so you should be able to pay us some money. And another challenge will be definitely funding. Funding is a huge challenge because we're not being paid for the service. We have to source for funding from elsewhere, from individual corporate organizations and other NGOs to be able to do this work. We have offices across 5 states in Nigeria, and we have to pay for the operations of these offices. We have to pay the lawyers working for us and all of that. It costs money to be able to help this. And as of today, we have helped 522 persons out of prison for free. And
Since when? Mr. Oluyemi, since when?
2019, yeah, since 2019.
Since 2019, you've helped over 500 people regain their freedom in this country.
Absolutely, yeah, across 5 states in Nigeria. So funding is a major challenge. There can never be enough funding for this kind of course.
But I need to ask you, before I start to give you some of the questions, and we'll open the phone lines where I will definitely have our listeners who would like to join in the conversation. This one talking about wrongful arrest. But I need to ask you, these men and women who demand bribes and tips from you, are they not under, if I'm not mistaken, are they not under the judiciary system? Can't you report them? Can they be filed for, or rather, can they be charged for, contempt or bad behavior? It sounds off that in the system where you have the judiciary, that the members of the judiciary are also guilty.
Okay, so yeah, I get your point there. Yes, you can report. Yes, we have reported some. Yes, it has yielded some actions for some people that we have reported in Lagos. In fact, we have gone as far as even getting media to cover some of these some of this kind of transactions. But the thing is this. We as an organization, we are representing somebody that is presumed innocent by the law. I mean, the case that I will use as a point of reference to you is the case of a young man who spent 11 years awaiting trial. Now, this young man was in prison. Case was moving from one judge to the other, and we had to represent him. Before we were able to get his freedom, a lot of it took a lot of effort because NSAS happened, courts were under lock and key. A lot of things happened. COVID happened in the course of handling his case, and a whole lot, happened in the course of us representing this young man. But at the end of the day, is there any consequence? Is there any compensation? Is there anybody held responsible for the things that made the case suffer that kind of long delay? Nobody was held responsible. Now, the judicial officers, some people, we identify, where, for instance, where a young man was, there's another, of course, saying a young man should be released in 2019. And up until 2021, he was still in prison. And there was a court official,
Are you serious?
a court registrar, who was aware on the day that announcement was made. There is a prison warder who was aware. And none of these guys were responsible. Now, where I'm going now is that if we say we want to start pursuing all of that and leaving the guy, because my conscience and me as a person is that who is presumed innocent that is in prison. All right? So do you want to leave the main case and pursue somebody who is asking you for 5,000 naira? I am not saying we shouldn't pursue, but I'm saying one takes precedence before one. All right?
Okay.
So the major concern to us is more of the guy who is in prison without having committed any offense, and he's been there for 4 years, for 5 years, or 6 years. We rather concentrate on that guy. We can make the report if it's necessary. And in some cases, action is taken. In some cases, actions are taken. In Lagos, there was a news trend. It went viral where a registrar was demanding money, and he would not do what he had to do until the lawyer paid money. I mean, any lawyer anywhere will testify to what I'm saying. It's a battle we have to face on a daily basis. Some lawyers are willing to pass it and make progress with their cases. But for us, an organization doing pro bono job is a major challenge. We can't afford to pay such money. And that's why we talk to media and, mention names and let people be aware of what is going on.
Okay, all right. So it's a bit of a shock revelation this morning, now, if I'm being honest. But let's start to get your views and let's interact. We have just about 10 minutes with our guest this morning. Numbers to call 0817-923-0003. 0817-923-0007. Once again, 0817-923-0003. 0817-923-0007. Please turn down the volume of your radio set when you call in and refrain from making derogatory or defamatory comments.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeria Info FM. Nigeria Info, let's talk.
All right, so Mr. Oluyemi.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, all right. So we have a comment here. Please pay very close attention. This it's a very well detailed question. It says, "Good morning, Jude and your guest." Oh dear. All right, apologies. We will very shortly re-establish our contact with our guest, talking about Mrs. Oluyemi. Once again, keep sending your messages to 0809-030-6416. 0809-030-6416. We're back in a short break. Oluyemi. So, Oluyemi, good morning once again, and apologies for earlier.
Thank you very much. That's okay.
Okay, all right. So we have a message here from Text. Text is in Oyigbo here in Port Harcourt. It says, I commend the organization for facilitating the release of that illegal detainee. I'd like to ask your guest, is it possible for an illegally or wrongfully detained Nigerian to file a civil suit against the state or federal DPP or even the Attorney General of the state he or she was arrested and detained him, or the Attorney General of the Federation? Mr. Jude, holders of these named offices are all supposed to be well-trained lawyers. They are supposed to know that the Administration of Criminal Justice Act states unambiguously that all detainees must be arraigned not later than 48 hours after arrest. So if the police did not have enough evidence, why arrest? If there's not enough evidence to arraign, why detain? Someone isn't being held responsible for this. That's why this persists. Mrs. Oluyemi, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree absolutely with the submission of the listener, and I want to say that I don't think that the right bodies, even the police, I don't think that they are not aware of the provision of the law. They definitely are aware. But when you know that, like, it's just like total impunity. When you know, even if I do this thing, I mean, that's why a police officer will tell you, I'm going to shoot you and nothing will happen. Because they are certain that definitely nothing is going to happen. Now, when we're talking about civil suits, in our own case, I mentioned earlier that we have helped 522 persons out of prison. Does it mean some of these guys are not willing to pursue the civil suits? Yes, they are. But this is it. For some people, they don't want to ever have anything to do with the court or the police. So, for their mental safety or sanity, they
just let it go.
So when we tell them you have the right, I mean, you've been detained illegally, you have suffered some damages and all of that, you can sue and get compensated. They tell you, I leave it to God. You know how strong we can be in Nigeria. Some people even think that they were kept there for a particular reason, spiritually. All right. So how you have to do a lot of work trying to convince someone like an injustice has just been meted on you. That's number one. For some other persons, maybe they are willing at the very first time when they get out of prison because they are angry at the system, they are angry at the country, and they are willing to take on that. But you know what? When we start, they get tired of the process because the process is not even easy. When we take up this civil suit, it might take another 1 year, 2 years, 3 years to even conclude. And at the end, when you get conclusion, when you conclude on it and have judgment, we have many judgments unenforced.
Unenforced. Okay.
So, and it is important for us to, lay down all the cards. We have to let them know this is what is going to happen when this happens.
Okay. All right. Just hold on. Friday is on the line in my one. Friday, go on very quickly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is Friday.
Yes, go on. My guest can hear you.
I thank you very well because I just opened my radio and I entered this program, listening to it. And I want to share my experience to what you are discussing.
Okay, go on very quickly, Friday.
Hello?
Yes, quickly.
Okay, I had a case in the court. A case of murder. That somebody murdered my niece. And they get him arrested and took him to court. At the time we got to court, they then said that they are sending the file to DPP. And along the line, we did not hear anything from the court, neither from DPP. But to my surprise, though I follow up the case, get to prosecutor all the way, get in touch with him. He told me that I should wait until they get advice from DPP. But to my greatest surprise, the suspect called me that court has discharged him. I am not aware. And the little girl that the suspect killed is still lying in the mortuary.
Oh dear.
Up till now.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. All right, we have Zion in GRA. Zion, let's hear your submission and we'll talk to our guests. Go on, Zion.
There is one hypocritical comment we always make. The bad head from her good. All these are lies. A policeman is good in Nigeria. Not one. All of them are bad. Was it not recently the IG made a comment? Nobody should be bringing money to his office. Were you not aware of that information? And what does that signify to you? The main fact that he made such a comment is to make every Nigerian to start leaving this country immediately because we are living in a very dangerous environment. The Nigerian police is so corrupt. Until we as individuals, civil society, start getting elected officers, that's when I want to ask you, sir, these policemen, are they not for family? How many fathers have you heard came to defend his child? All those policemen, they are sacked or they are removed. Their father came on air. I am want to apologize to Nigerians for my pikin. Or the mama come and go na my pikin. I say, "Oh, na no vex for what you do." Mention one that has brought us in security.
Okay. All right, Zion, thank you very much. Michael, you'll be my final caller, and we'll take your thoughts. Yes, go on, Michael, very quickly.
Okay, I'll do that. I also want to greet you, Mrs. Orija. Do you know, she has told us about the financial aspect of the corruption. If time would permit, she will tell you about the federal harassment. Because looking at her from Facebook, she's a pretty lady. And there's no way she wouldn't be harassed. She and some of her colleagues. They have just told us about the financial part. If time will allow you to, she will tell you more.
Okay.
The corruption, financial aspect is good. Wait. The corruption is also to do with your press, journalists too. Because even at these various courts and police, they have call. What are the views these red people among police and the rest of the criminals? What we ask them, they will deny it.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Mr. Oluyemi, did you hear those comments?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right. So let's deal with the last two. All right. Michael says that if we give you permission, that you may have stories about harassment as well. In one word, is it correct? Yes or no?
Okay, yeah, there are different types of harassment. When it comes to sexual harassment, for instance, fortunately, so most of our team, I'd say about 80% of our team are women, all right? So I've had reports from some of my team being sexually harassed by police officers when they go to the police station to represent these, young men. So yes, that's not impossible. We have heard, we've seen. And aside that, you also see harassment coming in form of, say, when policeman looks at you and say you're pretty, those kind of comments can derogate me sometimes. So yes, those things happen, but being lawyers, you always have a way of dealing with such situations.
Okay.
So yeah, I've had reports from my team on that, but personally I haven't. Then I've also had from other lawyers who are not even on my team being harassed by police officers sexually. So yes,
it does happen.
It's the same, right?
Yeah. So we have just about a minute left. Now Zion said that why haven't we heard these police officers or anybody that you just made mention of, why haven't they come out to apologize? That it shouldn't be something that we should effect. Do you agree that public apologies, whether it's from the police or the court members who demand for bribe, is this something you agree to?
Well, first of all, I want to say I can't sit down here and say that all policemen are bad. I have had encounters with some good policemen who are very level-headed, and they would administer over cases effectively. So, I mean, there might be few of them, but we cannot say all policemen are bad. That's number one. And that they should come out and apologize. Yes, that should be the ideal thing. In fact, in most of the judgments we have also gotten, the court judgment would emphatically say that they should apologize to the victim. All right.
Okay.
But yes, you would not see that on the media. I would also tell you that at the police headquarters, at least the ones I know, they also have what they call orderly. That's
orderly room trial,
like a mediation center within the police office, police station,
okay,
right?
Mr. Oluyemi, we're out of time. We have to run, but we'll get back to you shortly. Just stay on the line, please.
Hey, my people, how na day? We know say time stop.